Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watch You Want, and thanks for logging on. Today we're turning back the clock to 1957. This is the Breitling Superocean Heritage 46, so named because it is in fact 46 millimeters in stainless steel. Now, since 2007, when the Superocean Heritage line debuted, it's been something of an homage to the original Breitling sports watches, the original Breitling nautical sports watches, I should specify. As the first of the Breitling Superocean series, the 1957 reference 1004 is really the spiritual forebear, which lends its image to this Superocean Heritage 46. So before I put it on the wrist and show you its modern proportions, and it really does play quite nicely as a contemporary reference, I want to talk about some of the details that really set this one apart and identify it with that pioneering 1957 original. That was a period when a lot of the sports watches we take for granted today, that are the staples of their manufacturers, really got their start. From the 50s, we got the Blancpain 50 Fathoms, the Rolex Submariner, the Omega Seamaster Professional, and of course the Breitling Superocean. And that first reference 1004 from 1957 featured a lot of what you see here. Now, starting with the guardless crown, it actually has no shoulders protecting it. Not a practical problem or vulnerability on the wrist. You could see something really horrendous would have to happen to my hand before the crown is vulnerable. I find that in the modern sense, a luxury watch that's just going to be used in the pool, in the ocean, in the shower, worn all the time, it's not a real hindrance. You're not going to be slamming this into rocks. And what you gain is a much sleeker aesthetic. And in a practical sense, you gain much better access to the screw-down crown. Fighting with a screw-down crown that's snuggled in between crown guards, well, let's just say sometimes they can be a bit too effective, and they can protect the crown from you as well. So being able to access the crown easily and having that sleek, unadorned aesthetic, a case that's sheer and flowing and sweeping along its flanks, I like that a lot. I really feel the vintage look succeeds, and in a practical sense, it's an easier watch to use. Moving inboard from the flanks of the case, you can see this 1957 throwback bezel. Now, it's calibrated with stick indices, but no actual numerals. So you have this calibration, but no numerical references. So you just judge in relation to the triangular index, which you align with the minute hand to time intervals up to 60 seconds, dive watch style. And yes, the triangular index is also a throwback to 57. Moving inward, you can see that all of the indices on the dial themselves are stick or baton style. Again, true to history, but in this case, Breitling one-ups history by going with applied elements that are themselves diamond polished to a high shine. Really quite consonant, pairs beautifully with the metallic sunburst blue dial. Each one has a different kind of radiance. High gleam in the case of the indices and the associated diamond polished hands, and then of course you have something of a more muted but beautiful and dynamic blue sunburst radiating out from the center that seems to shift as you move it through the light. You can see that little propeller of light as I move this one, and the light shifts around the dial. Gorgeous. Now, the thing about this watch is it is very much in the image of the 57. It has a bracelet that likewise is in the image of the 57. This is the Ocean Classic. Some enthusiasts call this the Beads of Rice style. Some competing brands call this a Shark Hunter bracelet. Breitling calls it the Ocean Classic. I call it beautiful and incredibly comfortable on the wrist. We'll get to that in a second. The second has come. When I put this watch on the wrist, you can see in 46 millimeters, 13.5 millimeters thick, this is where the vintage comparisons really end. The watch is big, contemporary, bold. It's got a lot of presence on the wrist. It's got the stance of a modern sports watch. This is ready to go shoulder to shoulder with your Rolex Deep Sea Sea Dwellers, with your Omega Seamaster Planet Oceans 45 millimeters, with your Hublot Big Bangs, even your Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore 44s. Heck, at 46 millimeters, this thing could go toe-to-toe with an Hublot King Power 48. A lot of presence, and with a high-polished stainless steel case, that's case flanks, that's lugs, that's lug tops. This really stands out, but it's not garish because the dominant aesthetic here is that matte blue. Semi-matte, semi-metallic, never high polish. The blue is what draws the eye, and I would say the glint of the polished case almost accents it, almost like jewelry. It's really a supporting actor with that beautiful, bold blue dial being the centerpiece. Now you can see the broad arrow hand, baton minute hand, and the lancet style second are vintage, and they're quite easy to read. In classical dive watch style, they come to the fore as easy to read, legible, practical indications that glow like a torch at night, and the lume system on this watch involves dot indices outboard of the applied elements. You can see those dots around the periphery of the dial, as well as generous luminova applications to the arrow and the minute hand. This is an easy watch to read in the dark. In spite of its vintage presentation, it doesn't read as a faint vintage piece in low light conditions. Now the watch does have all of the hallmarks of a sports watch. Water resistant to 200 meters with a screw down crown. It's also automatic winding, and it has an outstandingly rugged bracelet. Now the Ocean Classic may look delicate, but looks can be deceiving. High polish, it's matched nicely to the case, but it's very tough. And you can see there's nary a glint of daylight through this thing. The tolerances are incredible. It doesn't feel delicate in the hand. It feels smooth. It feels silky and supple, but never fragile. And you can see just how much interlinking metal there is here. It's quite thick. It's got a lot of substance to it. I would actually say it feels more substantial than a lot of the old hollow link Rolex Oyster bracelets from back in the day. A beautiful, full polished clasp. You can see this one closes with a nice snick, and it uses a secure clamshell closure to keep it fixed on your wrist, with a number of micro incremental adjustment points right here. And don't be deceived, this watch is micro adjustable by removal of links. There are individual modular links embedded within this bracelet, quite a few of them in fact, so you can get precise sizing. Now the movement, let me just show the case back, because I often get questions about solid case back watches. Why aren't you showing the case back? Nothing to hide. It's just an honest, solid case back with the Breitling marquee, and a notice that this is in fact a 200-meter chronometer grade watch. Let's talk a little bit about that chronometer grade movement. Now Breitling uses its caliber 17. That's based on the robust ETA 2824. A lot of watchmakers who I've spoken to say that they like both the 2892, which is thin, and the 2824, which is relatively thicker, but at the margins, the 2824 is the tougher movement. Very precise. This is a Swiss COSC certified chronometer, and it has hacking seconds, so when you pull the crown it stops the seconds so you can synchronize precisely to a reliable reference timer like an atomic clock or a known accurate quartz watch. Automatic with a jump date, and that's one of the distinctions from the vintage model, which did not have this jump date. This could be your only watch. It's pretty much set it and forget it. As it winds itself, it maintains the date, it tracks the time, it's water resistant, and because of the high polish case, because of this elegant metallic bracelet, because the watch is very, I would say, unadorned, although large, it's not outlandish, it's not garish. It could absolutely pair with a suit. So for formal and informal occasions, this watch has really got you set. And this watch is in outstanding condition. So if you're interested in a sports watch with heritage references, with traditional historic inspiration, something with the integrity of a top name, a big three manufacturer in Swiss watchmaking, you really want this Breitling Superocean Heritage 46, or at the very least, you need to consider it. This is a fantastic sports watch, very versatile, rugged and ready for summer. It turns back the clock in all the right ways, pushes all the right buttons, and if that sounds good to you, this Breitling Superocean Heritage 46 just may be the watch you want.